Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fridays at 5. I'm Karen Taylor of the color vowel chart that's not behind me today, because today is not about colors, it's about stress. And, you know, if we need it, we have lots of charts in the room. This is a special Friday at 5. Every fourth Friday is Ask the Linguist, and the linguist is Dr. Robin Barr. Hello, Dr. Barr. Dr. Robin Barr comes to us by way of all kinds of wonderful organizations, including American University, where she's the linguist in residence, Washington English Center, where she
that would be Washington Literacy Center.
Sorry, the Washington Literacy Center.
Currently my home, yes.
Educator and a specialist in adult dyslexia, as well as speech and English language training solutions, where she is our lead phonologist. So we're really happy to have you, as we always are. We have
this is so much fun. Oh my God, sorry.
We have a special topic today that has been raised in our color vowel community. That is our private Facebook community, where anybody who owns a copy of the color vowel approach book, I don't know where my copy is, so if somebody else has theirs, here it is. Anybody who owns a copy of our book, either digital or physical, is welcome to join our color vowel community. And it's a place where we just know that since we all have access to the book, we all have a basic foundation in the color vowel approach. And then we can ask questions that come beyond, you know, that come to you after that basic foundation. And believe me, there are so many questions that are waiting to be asked. And so,
Karen, look who's here.
We've got Shirley Thompson.
It's Shirley. Shirley, this one's for you. This is the you asked about this. This is the one this is the question you hit that was bothering you all night long, you said.
It's actually Gabby who started all of this.
Gabby, is it your fault? Okay, good.
It's her fault. It's her fault that she kept me up at night.
We do have some new people in the room, I can see, and so I just want to acknowledge a couple of hellos. If you're new, feel free to ask questions over in the chat to either myself or to Jennifer Campion, who's her photo is not showing right now, but she's there and ready to answer any questions about anything, training and so forth. Shirley in the room, hi Shirley, is my co-author on the color vowel chart. We've been working together for over 20 years now.
Yay.
So glad to have you. But yeah, the it that Robin is mentioning over and over is the it of compound nouns and compounding, or the special stress that we give to compounds. Can we go around the room and just, I don't want it in the chat. I want to hear it with a hand and a color vowel and some kind of a compound. And we'll just have volunteers. Open up the mics. Let's hear a couple of compounds. I'll start. Gray, day, mailbox. That's mine.
Gray day painting class.
Silver pin Christmas tree.
Black cat ashtray.
Nice.
Green tea, green screen.
Green screen. Oh, I like it.
Red dress credit card.
Black cat blackboard.
Nice.
Black cat classroom.
Gray day rainbow.
Hey, Dorley, can you do it again? Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed. White tie high school.
Yeah.
Okay. Rose boat post office.
Purple shirt workout.
One more.
Auburn dog bone.
Dog bone.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now.
Green tea sweetheart.
Sweet. Good. So now you can ask questions over in the chat. Jennifer has started us off with a good one that I know we'll come to. Why do some compounds get written as one word while others are written as two? Okay.
Depends on how much space you want to save on the and ink you want to save on the page. In other languages that are not English, like German, other languages that do a lot of compounding, so Germanic languages, they don't bother with writing them as separate words or using hyphens usually. They just run the words together, and you can decide whether where to divide it up. But in English, the words may look like separate words, but they act like a single phonological word.
In fact, why don't you do that, everybody? Take the compound noun that you just modeled and any others that you think of, and just type them into the chat so we can see this in print. And we just sort of noticed that some of them are two separate words in print and some are one. So just take it, you know, we've got hardworking, painting class, Christmas tree, green screen, ice cube, dog bone, cowboys. It looks pretty arbitrary to me.
Do you have any other ones with hyphens? Post office, no. Credit card, ashtray.
Ashtray.
I looked up fast food the other day and they had it both as two words and hyphenated.
And
yes,
who's they?
Yes.
Which they are you speaking?
Luke New Dictionary.
Ah, okay. So yeah.
They is you.
Dictionary is always going to throw a whopper at you.
Doesn't it evolve over time? Like, doesn't it start off as two words and then it often goes to hyphenated and then it often then merges into one?
This is one of my favorite linguistic terms, univerbation.
Everyone try that. What color is it?
Yeah, univerbation. Great day, univerbation. That's well, una is one and verb is word. So it's taking several, you know, two or more words and making them one word. And you could do this referring to what's going on in print. But what's more interesting is that this is also what happens when you're forming compounds out of phrases. So if you go from blackboard, which is an adjective and a noun in a noun phrase. So if you go from a phrase to a compound noun, blackboard, you're also turning two separate words into a single word, and then you give it single word stress, blackboard. So, and you could wind up having a very, very productively long word like, oh golly, Apple computer paper rack, you know, or I mean, you could keep going. You could add another Apple computer printer paper rack, Apple computer laser printer paper rack. I mean, you know, this is all one single compound word that you've created out of, you've nested them inside each other. So this is an extremely productive process in English. And even though it's not really syntactic, it's lexical or morphological. So you're creating a word rather than a phrase, but you can tell where the how you created it by where the stress winds up. So what did I just say? Apple computer laser printer paper
people eater.
Yeah, purple people eater. So why isn't it purple people eater? Why isn't it purple people eater? No, it's purple people eater. So I mean, that's because it's a people eater that's purple. You know?
Not a
So
right.
So depending on how you make a tree or coordinate the different how you embed the different expansions of that noun compound, you would get the stress in different places.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm wondering if Gabby, could we go back a little bit in time between Gabby and Shirley, just because this did arise from a real moment this week, which is that
tractor feed. I like that.
tractor feed.
That's from Paul.
We've been enjoying a level 2 workshop called Colorful Integrations that Shirley and I are co-teaching, which is about integrating color vowel methods and proclivities into textbook use. And so Gabby's in that course, and Gabby was working on an assignment. And so Gabby, can you kind of describe what happened and how this question arose?
Yeah, as I was working on one of our assignments, I wanted to categorize the compound nouns that we were working on. So it was because I didn't know exactly how to do it. Then I went to English, and I found out that I was not able to identify where the stress was. So then I thought, well, I'm going to look for the rules, what the rules say. I look for the rules, and that made it even worse. I was even more confused now, because the rules said one thing, and I thought I was listening another thing. So it was, at some point I was such a mess. I was so puzzled about how it was so hard for me to listen to it.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all started.
This
So
is
then-
really, really interesting, that the fact that you were more confused when you looked up the so-called rules really tells me something, because I'm not going to get into my dissertation topic, but very much, but one of the things that I work on is the difference between rules and lists. So what's in Broca's area, which is rule governed, and it's completely regular, and it always works, and it's unconscious and so forth, versus what's in the lexicon that, you know, comes through Wernicke's area, and there might be patterns, but there's exceptions, and, you know, it doesn't all, if there are some sub-regularities, but it doesn't always work. So we've seen this before with like irregular verbs, for
Right.
example.
And I need to interrupt, because I just
Yes.
have to remind everybody that when Robin says rule-based, she's not talking about that word rules that you looked for, Gabby, in the books, right? If you
Right, not
look for the
prescriptive rules, right.
those written rules are not these rules. The broker's rules are the deep rules, the automatic rules, and the rules that we think of as rules in books and on websites. What are those, Dr. Barr?
Prescriptive rules that say that this is how the language works, and this is what you must do. And
So it's opinions, in other words.
It's opinions. It's you know, you call it a rule of thumb, or it's a general pattern that works most of the time for, and that's what you can tell your learners. But when you actually look at the language, this is something that English learners, English speakers, speakers of the language have to learn word by word. So this is not something that is completely predictable. Unlike, for example, how to make a question, right? How you make a question is not different for every sentence.
Right.
But how you make a compound and how you stress a compound could, in theory, be different for every kind of compound. It's not always that way, because speakers do have intuitions about where you're going to stress something. But you can have differences of opinion between speakers or between dialects about where something is stressed. In fact, let me ask you all, can you predict in English where a word will be stressed? So some of you are saying yes,
To an
Sometimes.
you're saying
extent,
no.
up to a certain extent, yes. There are rules that are consistently followed when it comes to stress in English.
Okay, give me one of those rules.
For example, there can't be more than one unstressed syllable in the beginning of any word. Yeah. For
Okay.
example, if it's a longer word, if the stress is not on the first syllable, then only one unstressed syllable can happen. And then the second one is going to have the secondary stress.
Or the primary.
Or the primary, of course, yeah.
Okay. You know, my stress rules are so unconscious, I'm not even aware of that rule. So I'll
Yeah, I
have to
was
think and
not
see if I can.
aware either. I just found it in one of those old books that no one looks at anymore.
There must
Okay.
be exceptions though, because absolutely is an exception.
Well, there absolutely. Why is
That
it
has
an
a
exception?
secondary stress right there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see.
There
So
are-
you're saying there's a secondary stress on the ab.
Yeah,
So you can't have
absolutely.
two unstressed syllables in a row.
Exactly.
Yeah.
in
So the
that-
only one I can think of immediately is one that Shirley and I invented
Without
in
a
our book, which is unimaginable.
Yeah, so
And-
with with negations, that's right. Any negation like dislike, that's gonna have two stresses in a row. Dislike, secondary and primary side by side, but that's because that's contrast, kind of, in a way. We want to show that it's not like unstable, for example. I can't just go unstable because it's not going to be audible.
Hey, Gabriella has
Gabriella
a nice
asked about inconsistent.
inconsistent. Yeah.
But that's a rule of its own, kind of.
Well, and
Aha, okay, so
this-
that's beautiful. Okay,
that's
so
it.
what I'm talking about here is a difference in how these things are represented in the speaker's brain. All right. So
Okay.
once you start to say, well, this is a rule of its own, and here's another class of exceptions to this rule, and then here's some more words that don't fit the rule, and eventually you could break it. You can keep breaking it down further and further until you've got a new rule for every word.
I was thinking of the word iota. Isn't it kind of weird? I don't know. I find it weird in my ears.
Like iota, Ohio,
Iota.
Yeah.
iota, Ohio, Iowa. I don't know. So there are words that don't really fit into whatever template you've got, but on the other hand, there are templates. Right?
Which then reminds me a lot of how a structured literacy program works, like a phonics Wilson or any or
Right.
Gillingham. Like you start with the most generalized rule and you work your way to the rule of one eventually. If you ever make
Yeah. So you have a whole bunch of words that are exceptions or taboo, or you put those words in jail because they don't fit, or whatever. And there are patterns. So Asian, your words with tion at the end, certain morphemes, you can have predictable stress. You'll stress the syllable before it, or employee, you stress the ee, right? And there are things that will happen that are predictable, but for modern English, the stress is not 100% predictable. We can have two words with different stresses, and you wind up with different meanings. So there's the classic record, record, right? Or
convict, convict.
yeah. Can you think of other ones like that?
Contrast, contrast.
Yeah.
Excuse.
Context.
Excuse. That's interesting.
Suspect,
So
suspect.
and excuse have the same stress, but they have different voicing
Yeah,
of
just
stress.
different sound.
But that's
Protest,
because there are different
protest.
parts of speech as well, I think.
Oh,
Okay, so
that's true.
you can sort of predict it because the ones with initial stress tend to be nouns, and the ones with non-initial stress tend to be verbs.
Robin, what about the TION rule? The
Asian, Ishan, yeah, so that's fairly predictable too. But notice that for all of these, you're counting on either the meaning of the word or the meaning of the word or the morphological category of the word, or the syntactic category of the word.
It's a subcategory. You're
Yes,
saying,
you're
yeah.
not talking
Yeah.
about the whole sound category. You're not talking about the phonology of the word. So that makes stress not a phonological rule. It becomes some kind of morphological or lexical rule, which is not in Broca's area. Now let me move on to why it works that way. And Karen and I are going to perform the beginning of Beowulf for you.
can't wait.
You have to know that this is one of my earliest memories of encountering English literature class. When I think it was in 4th grade, we had to look at it, and it really turned me off. Thank goodness
Oh
not.
my God. It turned me on so much. I taught myself Old English in
Oh my God. We're very different. I felt very resentful.
So I'm going to share the screen, and what I want you all to do is listen to the Old English words and see if you can come up with a pattern for what syllable gets the stress in Old English. Okay, so I want you to pay attention, and just in case your ears aren't working, I've also underlined the stressed syllable most of the time. So, but Karen, you're going to strum on every half line. How's that?
Oh, I
sound?
got it. I'm so glad I don't have to speak. Okay, I'm ready. Is it minor or major?
You can
or
speak if you
modal?
want. Right, so let me share this. Okay.
Minor, major, or modal? What do you want?
Oh, something ancient, something that goes back to the 8th century.
All right, you're gonna hear some
Dark
slow note
ages.
chords.
Okay. So listen carefully. So in fact, you can move your hand or clap along. It's a beat. You can dance to it. It starts out like this. Whap, way gardena in yardagum, theod kuninga, thrum yefrunon, hutha adelingus ellen fremedon, off shield shaving, shabana thratum, monogum mathum, medosetla of teach, ezoda erlis, suthan arist werth, faershaft funden. You haven't, Karen, I can't hear the accompaniment.
Oh, I'm playing. I don't think Zoom is up to this. I have to
Okay.
say. I think it's one
Erlis,
channel, it's yours.
Faershaft funden, hetas frovre jabad, wax under wolknum, werthmundum thach, of that him eihwilk, thara sitendra, over fronrada, huron shoulder, gomban, gilden, that was god kuning, van avera, was after kenned, young in yerdum, von a god sende, folke to frovre, firen derva onjat, that he drugon, aldor lezer, langa wheeler, him fast leaf freya, Wooldris, Weldon, world ara for Yath, Beowulf, West Brema, Blad, Wieda sprang, Schildus, Avera, Shada Landum in. Okay.
Bravo.
So,
everybody.
all right. So, can you predict where the stress is? It's it's almost regular.
Isn't it the first syllable?
It's basically the first syllable.
Yeah, it's no big deal. It's pretty weird.
That includes compounds.
Sorry, I was
like
just thinking about trying to pick up my mind, but I just
There we go. Go ahead.
But it includes compounds like gardena, so spear danes, has stress on the first syllable. Yer dagum, days of yore, so your days. Theod Kuninga, the king of the people. And let's see.
Yeah, what's that? Yim sitendra.
Oh, I love that word, because this is originally a verb that turns into a noun. So this is just like the ones we were talking about, record, right? So im sitten is to sit around. Im is around and sit is sit. So im sitten, with the stress on the sit, is the verb, but im sittendra, that's the noun made from the verb, which means the people who are sitting around, that is the neighbors. So basically he wound up intimidating all the neighbors, basically. Okay. And over Fronrada, that's the whale road, which is the sea, over the seas, the neighbors over the seas. They heard about him.
So this is Old English, right?
This is Old English, back 800. This is before the Norman invasion. No Latin words that, well, there might be one or two from the, the Roman influence on in England or something. But so it's basically everything gets stress on the first syllable, except there's a couple of places where you don't have first syllable stress. So if you look at the verbs, it's only the verbs that are not stressed on the first syllable. They're stressed on the root of the verb, which is really interesting, because how would you know? But they're basically compound verbs. So for yaff, that's forgive on. So for yaff, forgave. And we still have the stress like that. It's not forgave, it's forgave, right? Yeah. And on yat, that's got the prefix on. I talked about imsitendra already. Off tear, okay, they took off. So OF, that's off. So they off took the basically the mead
Mayor de Settler.
Mayor de Settler. They took off the mead chairs. So he took away their where they were sitting and drinking.
I might have to rename my cat after some of these words. They're just too
Wonderful.
interesting.
Yeah. So Beowulf was completely predictable. This Old English was totally predictable, and except for the verbs, which makes me think that these preverbs, the off and the on and the for and so forth, might not have been considered part of the verb in some way. They might have been still some kind of adverb or particle or something like that. So that was predictable. But then we've got blame it on the French, the Norman invasion, which adds a whole bunch of other words into English, and they have a different stress pattern. They have either they're stressed like the Latin or they're stressed like the French, or because English still had the tendency to have initial stress, a lot of the words started out stressed like French, if they were borrowed from French, and then they wound up getting stressed like English. So they moved from other syllables to first syllables. So we've already got record, which is not first syllable, but record winds up having initial stress because it's a noun, and that's what nouns do in English. Okay, same with permit and permit. So even though these are borrowed words, they fit into the Old English setup where the verbs had stress on the I guess you call it the verb root. So the re and the per are considered prefixes in some way. But then when they turn into nouns, just like imsitendra, around sitters, the noun winds up stressing the prefix.
So if I can just point out or ask here, when I think of anglicizing foreign words, I generally think of the phonemes being anglicized to English speaking phonemes, but what you're pointing out is also a form of anglicization, right?
It is, especially this one, because this is an Old English rule.
Right.
So giving French words or Latin words initial stress, especially the nouns, is making them fit into the English, I guess you could call it phonotactics, or the template that English has for these things. The problem is it's not completely regular. So the French word garage, in American we still say garage, but in British, garage is where the stress is. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or for example, we could say to defend somebody is to provide a defense. So that's still, though it's a noun, it still has the stress of the verb. But then when we talk about defense or offense in football, that winds up getting initial stress. There's envelop and envelope, which is not identical. Address is both the verb and the noun in British English, but American English, sometimes people say address. What's your address, not what's your address. Actually, I'd like to know, what do you say? What's your address or what's your address?
That's a trick question.
Do you have an opinion?
I think one thing, and I think I say another one, and it's pretty variable between the two.
Do we have a show of hands?
I say address, me.
What's your address?
I think I use both.
What's your address? I think I do too. I don't know
what's your address.
I don't know when I use one and when I use the other.
Yeah.
What about you, Anna? Do you have an opinion?
I use the second one, address.
What's your address?
Mm-hmm.
Give me your address. Okay. Jennifer, do you have an opinion?
Jennifer is yes.
All right. I'm multitasking here. I think it depends on the context of the word, the sentence I'm saying it in. I know that I say both.
Yeah.
I do it like the other heteronyms. It's address if it's a noun, and it's address if it means speak as a verb. So.
Okay, so so you use the American one, whereas the British haven't moved it to the first syllable yet in that word. Okay, so and we had another few examples, permit and permit, but we also had what was in the chat. What were some of the examples in the chat that people put up?
Yeah.
There's suspect and suspect.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's
Rebel
interesting.
and rebel.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Rebel, rebel.
Yeah. So rebel and rebellion, but rebel. So forth. So, so what does this tell us about the difference between Old English and Modern English? It tells us that in Modern English, stress is not predictable, and that we try our best to make English conform to the Old English patterns of initial stress for nouns, but it doesn't extend to every word, and different dialects might do it differently, or different meanings might do it differently. So it's something called lexical diffusion. That means the change is happening one word at a time, or different patterns at a time. And this fits into the my theory of the lexicon that involves not rules, but you could call them family resemblances or prototypes, or I don't know, constellations, words attracted to each other if they match each other. So words of a feather flock together is how I always think of it. And so if you have enough critical mass with a particular pattern, then maybe it will add more things like defense and address, but it's not 100% productive, and it's not 100% predictable. So it still doesn't belong in Broca's area, but speakers do have intuitions about it. So the question is, how do you convey those intuitions to your learners? And it was Gabby who brought up the problem that if you look in the books, they list some of those patterns, and Nat, in fact, listed a bunch of them. She said, if you have two initial syllables that are they can't both be unstressed, but then if you have a noun, and then you have a verb, and then you have this suffix and this prefix, and every word winds up having its own set of sub rules that are sub rules that are sub rules. And by the time you think of all those rules, you can't. It's too late to apply it to what you're saying, right? So let me now do an experiment. I think I can. I'm not sure how this works.
If you go to share, Robin.
Well, I think that I think everybody can annotate. Is that correct? Can other people move?
I would go to share and grab a public link and share it in the chat. But maybe.
Why don't you just tell me where it goes? So
okay.
How about this? We'll do the first one. So we're just doing stress on the first syllable versus stress not on the first syllable.
Okay, we could all hold up fingers, by the way. First syllable, not on the first syllable would be 2. Sound good?
Okay, but you're gonna have to report to me because I can't see everybody.
Exactly. I'll watch. I'm watching everybody. I can see you. Okay.
Okay, so what about I'm not gonna say it aloud because that'll give it away, right?
That's right. So everybody say it mentally and then hold up a finger and we'll decide here. All right, I see a bunch of 2s. I'm going to go with 2 as the group, and I see Dorley holding up a 1. So we'll see, but be yourself and we'll figure it out. Okay, next one.
This one.
Okay, I see variety, not evenly split though. It's a majority is 2s. So second column.
I'm talking about the whole phrase, not just the first word.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. First word or second word.
So if it's Christmas Day, Christmas might have secondary stress on the first syllable, but Christmas Day, the whole
So is the
thing.
column, should the column really say stress not in the first word?
No.
Or is it really about syllables?
I'm thinking about syllables right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if it were Christmas Day, well, I get it now. Okay, I'm
So
watching.
Christmas Day, it would go over there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. How about this?
Okay, I'm going to try to be more accurate to what I see here. I see a lot of non-committal no hands, and then the ones that are raised are showing me 2 fingers and 1 1 and 2 1s. So
Okay, Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve for me, but you know I'm always going to add for me at the end because never say never.
That's very appropriate.
Never say always.
Okay. So what color is that? Let's see. What's that stuff over there? I can't quite tell what it is. It's
red wood.
Are you just trying to give us a
Red
sentence where that's the end of it?
yeah. I want to put it in a sentence, and that's the end of the sentence, and it's all new information.
Okay.
That's redwood over there.
Redwood. I see 2s. I see redwood. Yeah, Jackie, I'm kind of with you because I would never call wood red. It would always be red.
Talking about the tree then.
I mean, when did I ever look at wood and say, look at that red wood over there?
Have you ever looked at cedar?
It's the tree.
It would be
painted.
one
It's painted
word.
red. It's painted red.
painted
Okay.
red.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. I'm like, all right, it's painted red and we're all dreaming. No, we're good. So this one's redwood forest.
Redwood forest, but I'm going to put the forest in parentheses because this time I do want you to look at the first word only.
Okay. I always see a bunch of 1s.
Yeah. So this is the nice.
And Nadia's helping me out. I can see it against her phone more easily when it's
Yeah. So
like that. That's great.
adjective plus noun is a phrase. Redwood, and the noun gets the stress because English is right-headed in that respect, and the last thing is what gets the stress ordinarily, unless it's because the last thing in English is the new information, and new information gets stressed. But here we have redwood, so has the first syllable. How about this one? 1 or 2. Over there are the rolling wheat fields or wheat fields? What do you see, Karen?
I see 1s, almost all 1s, in fact.
Wheat fields. Okay.
It seems like we know, like we're especially sure there's no standard deviation when it's stress on the first syllable, but when it's on the other column, there's more variety in the answers.
What's this one? It's a golden valley, or it's a golden valley.
We see 2s. I see 2s. I see 1. Oh, I saw it switched. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Let's see. Is it Merry Christmas or Merry Christmas?
2s. Very much agreed upon.
Okay. Is it? Now here I'm going to put the happy in parentheses because people may differ. Okay. Is it Happy New Year or Happy New Year?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year or Happy New Year?
Okay, I'm on the new part of New Year. That's my 1. If you agree, keep your 1 up. Otherwise, you're year and you have a 2 up. And I see a mixture here, really. 1, 2.
Which is great because you hear both. Have a Happy New Year versus Happy New Year. Right? So you can do both. I'm going to put that halfway on each side. Okay.
That's what I've started doing with birthday, because I really think it's about the mother and the birth. So I say happy birthday. I know that seems obscure, but I'm just saying, it kind of does the same thing, right?
But you notice that it means something different if you stress it on the first syllable or you don't. So happy birthday versus happy birthday. It's not the same word, is it? That's a nice example.
Yeah.
All right. Is it a cellular phone or cellular? I can't say it. Cellular phone.
Cellular phone would be 1. Cellular phone would be 2. That's funny. A lot of people are 1s. I'm a 2. It's mixed.
Would it change if it was cell phone instead of cellular?
let's find
I
out.
don't think anybody says cellular phone anymore. Oh, I see. Sorry. Never mind.
You're such a good student, Jennifer.
Yes, you think you're one step ahead. Okay. So is it cell phone or cell phone?
Cell phone.
Okay, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
So here we have an example. It started out as adjective plus noun, a cellular phone, and then it gradually turned into a compound, a cellular phone, but it also got abbreviated to cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you could say it started out as a phrase, but then it turned into a compound. How about this one? Is it New Year's Day, New Year's Day, New Year's Day?
New Year's Day. I'm gonna put a 3. Like now, we're all with 3 fingers now because we went New Year's Day.
Oh, what day is January 1st? It's
New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day for me. New Year's Day.
Wow, I don't get the third at all. I only get New Year's Day. For me, New Year's Day, and is that the same as Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? Of course, now we're getting into into contrastive stress, and that's going to mess us up. But
exactly.
Okay.
Robin?
Yeah.
I just looked up cell phone on the Blue Canoe Dictionary, and they write it as one word.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we have a little univerbation in print.
And I want to point out always, just as a reminder to folks, when you look something up in the Blue Canoe Dictionary, remember that that's being fed by the Oxford Online Dictionary. So it's not just Blue Canoe, deciding that. It's actually fed through an API. So that's Oxford's online.
But
to me,
we do fix it.
I mean,
we disagree.
Robin, it almost seems like it was probably a 4-step process where it went from cellular telephone to cellular phone to cell phone, and then one word, cell phone.
It's like taxi cab or taxi and cab came from taximeter cabriolet.
Really?
And then it got shortened into taxi cab, and then you've got either cab or taxi. Yeah.
And when are we going to sing This Land Is Your Land?
What's that?
When are we going to sing This Land Is Your Land? You told
Oh,
me.
yes. Okay. So
we have a question. Native or?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So, I get these questions from students all the time, but which one is it? One word or 2? It really could be either, couldn't it? I mean, plenty
absolutely.
Of people,
Absolutely. Or it could be hyphenated, right? And what tends to happen over time is that things get first start out as 2 separate words, and then they get hyphenated, and then they lose their hyphen. But there's some words that are still written as 2 words, like high school. I don't think I've seen it written as a single word. Right. So, okay, over there is a fertile green land. Got here. Okay, I see 2s. And how about the island? Greenland. Okay. And notice the difference in vowel too. It's not Greenland, but Greenland, right? And where's this? How about here we have Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. Is it Christmas tree? No, it's Christmas tree. This is what was Christmas Eve versus Christmas tree was what was keeping Shirley up all night, right?
That was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any explanation for that?
Yes and no.
Christmas tree, Christmas present, Christmas gift.
Yeah. So I think Christmas Eve, it works like New Year's Eve. Do I have New Year's Eve anywhere? No. I don't see it. Okay. But I think it was originally Christmas's Eve, just like you say, the eve of the election, the eve of the next day. So I think Christmas Eve was really Christmas's Eve, so it was a genitive plus noun rather than a compound. But Christmas tree is noun plus noun, which is more likely to be a compound. So that's my explanation for it, but it's not a rule, Shirley. That's just my historical explanation.
Right. Yeah.
Right. New York. How about, is it New York City?
New York City.
New York City.
New York City.
Right. And the stress is on,
City.
wait, New York, it's not New York. Why did I put it there? New York. Yeah.
New York City.
And when if you're not counting the city, where is the stress in the compound in New York?
Second, we all agree.
New York. How about when you say New York City?
New York City, it's on city.
And what about the New York part of that phrase?
You're not going to get me to say New York, if that's what you're
It feels
trying
like a
to do.
secondary stress on new.
Can you really say New York City? New York City?
No.
No, why not?
Because we don't like two stresses next to each other.
Oh, you are so smart. Yes, you've heard me talk about this
Sorry,
before.
now I'm playing the student. I'm just like, because.
So iambic reversal English hates to have two stresses in a row, so you can't say New York City, it's New York City. So secondary stress on the new.
Hey, Dr. Barr, we have about 5 minutes left in all. So if you have other things you want to do.
Okay, so how about this one?
Dust clouds.
Dust clouds.
Fingers, everybody. I want to see.
Here's New Year's Eve.
I report New Year's
New Year's
Eve.
Eve. Oh, so how about this land?
This land.
This land, ordinarily this land. And that's my land. And
my land.
That's your land. Okay, so without context, I'm putting over here. How about footsteps? Put them here. Skyway. Highway.
All right.
Is it Gulf Stream or Gulf Stream?
Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream waters.
The Gulf Stream.
The Gulf Stream to the Gulf Stream waters.
The Gulf Stream or the Gulf Stream? Gulf Stream. Joey, I love the way you say Gulf Stream. Yeah. All right. So so when you look at this is when Gabby and Shirley started tearing their hair out because you know, how do you explain Christmas Eve versus Christmas tree? How do you explain you know, wheat fields versus Golden Valley? You know, what goes on here? Generally, what you could say is if you have something that is an adjective or a or you know a determiner like a possessive or a demonstrative, then the noun will get the main stress, and so that'll be a phrase usually, and you'll have stress on the first syllable if the first syllable is a noun. So if you have noun plus noun, like dust clouds, footsteps, wheat fields, but also when you combine the phrase into a single word. So as opposed to redwood, it's redwood, not Greenland, but Greenland. Okay. So now, how do you teach this? And my answer is, well, number one, you can do flooding. That is, you can take all the things that are similar and put them together. So you could say New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, cellular phone, sparkling sands, etc., etc. But you know, wheat fields, dust clouds, footsteps, skyway, highway. So you can have that particular stress pattern in the compounds. But since it depends on what the word is, I'm going to also suggest using songs. So let's look at this and sing it and take a look at where the stress is. We decided it was this land, your land, this land, my land. But notice by this time, land becomes the old information. So when we sing it, it's this land is your land. Yep. This land is my land. Not only is it old information, but we also have contrast between your and mine, right? And it's New York, but it's New York Island, yep. Right? It's redwood forest, Gulf Stream waters, right? We have highway,
Wasn't it
skyway.
the Gulf Stream waters? But
Yeah,
that's
the
more
Gulf
because of the
Stream
beat.
waters, that ribbon of highway, endless skyway. So endless skyway, Golden Valley. Golden Valley is a phrase. Skyway is a compound. Endless is going to modify it. Here we have the footsteps, but sparkling sands, diamond desert. So the song is giving you the stress pattern, right? How would you like to sing it along with me?
Depends on
Can we
the.
do it? If we all unmute, what happens? I don't know.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land is made for you and me.
As I was walking
that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and
rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Notice this land as opposed to this land, which is kind of nice the way that the
are we getting into how songs overlay the musical meter?
Absolutely. I left out two verses where it didn't fit. So, but it's wheat fields waving, dust clouds rolling. So that's why I picked this for doing those particular compounds. But it's a freedom highway, not a freedom highway. Which is interesting. So and then this land was made
for you and me.
For you and me. Okay,
well, so what can we take from all this? We have 4 minutes before the hour comes to the top there. Obviously, I think compounds are, I'm not sure we've solved the problem of compounds, but what are some themes you want to bring together, Dr. Barr?
Well, we've explained the problem, but we haven't solved the problem. So there's a reason it's a problem, and the reason it is that it's not a 100% rule governed, right? So you have to instead learn it the way native speakers learn it is by exposure to particular compounds through the course of their lives. And if you want your students to have the same kind of intuitions that the native speakers have, you need to somehow compress all of that information into a very short amount of time, which is one reason why flooding is helpful. And
when we organize words, and you know how much, if you work with me these days, you know how much I talk about being not organized, like knowing where your stuff is in your office, but rather organizing, right? Organizing the lexicon in your mind through sort of the hooks and tricks of the organizer, which is a graphic thing.
Organizer, I like that.
Organizer. I didn't mean to do that, but yes.
Could I say something real quick?
Yeah, but let me just finish that thought. Is by doing that, then we're ready to flood. But that's still looking at it. And I think there's a problem in here of looking at compounds, because then it raises the issue of whether they're one word or two written on paper. And
yeah, and I would say
just a big noise there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I was looking at the. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling
now,
it.
Is this enough?
Okay.
Now you can look up this land is your land. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I liked how this land is your land. This land, it's actually has meaning in there too, even though it's different. It brings in meaning because it's a declarative statement. It really points to this. It's like he's pointing.
Absolutely, that's why it's different from. I love this. This is something I have my graduate students do. Sometimes I ask them to take this song and make a lesson out of it. And there's all kinds of stuff you can mine it for. But I never thought of mining it for compounds before, but here it is, you know.
Yeah.
Robin, one thing that Gabby said in her email that I thought it's a good thing for teachers to think about. She said that she had never really noticed compounds, and once you start learning about them, suddenly you notice them everywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, and I think that's what we need to help our students do, is help them learn to notice, so that if they say it one way and then they notice that the person they're speaking to puts the stress on the other word, then they say, aha, maybe that's a compound.
Absolutely. So there's no way even to notice that you have it wrong unless you can hear where the stress is. And so that's what we're looking for, is we want to raise their consciousness for how speakers of the language stress the word in order to decide whether it's a compound or not how they write the word. So that's why your point, Karen, is a good one. Looking at the written word is not the way to teach it, at least not at first.
Yeah. Hey, I want to thank everybody for all the great questions. We had, I think we had an epiphany in the room from Nat, which we want to talk about more. Pretty neat stuff that she's noticing about 2 stresses in a row versus multiple unstresses in a row. Neat stuff. We are at the top of the hour, so just want to finish up with a couple of announcements. You know, in about a week and a half, we start up with our next round of workshops. Well, 2 weeks from now, we start up with our new set of workshops. We've got level 1 courses. We've got level 2 workshops coming up. So check out our calendar. We've just put a link there. Next week on Thursday evening, 10 p.m. Eastern, we've got our next round of pure English practice. Always a work in progress. I'm always working on, you know, coming up with a way to involve the audience more. So if you come this Thursday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, you can count on ways to participate. And do, as teachers, if you've got image cards, be ready to use them, right? So if I talk about something that's blue, you'll be doing that. And we can come up with a pretty visual markup, you know, a really neat thing in the gallery when we see all those colors come up at the same time for the users. And that's so much fun. It is fun. But we'll be getting it, you know, I'm working on it. And if you have ideas and you want to see something different, or if you think it could be better, write me at Karen@colorval.com. I'd love ideas. If you want to help out, I'd be happy to hear from you. So join us, come on over, and we'll see you soon. Anything else we want to say? Any other announcements or any comments? Jennifer? Robin?
Yeah, I just want to thank Gabby and Shirley for bringing up this problem. And I just want to reassure everybody that there's a reason that it doesn't work. It's not that, you know, it's not your fault that you can't figure it out. Okay?
And looking for a rule is not the solution, right?
Yeah, that's the point. It's because it's stored differently in your brain. It's not something that's susceptible to 100% productive rules.
All right, well, I vouch or promise I'm going to find some way to include compounds in upcoming pure practice. So watch for that. And I want to thank Dr. Barr. Can we all give her a round of applause, please?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it, Dr. Barr. And Shirley too. Thank you.
Yeah.
You want me to post the PowerPoint somewhere, Karen? What do you think?
We've got this presentation up, and so that's going to be one of the best ways to access it. I know Dr. Barr will be reviving this possibly again in our next round of phonological awareness.
Could be, you never know.
Kind of thing. So, all right, everybody, thank you. Stay safe, be well, and come again. We'll see you again soon.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you, Anna. Good to see you, Jackie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, great to see you. Bye, Paul. See you soon. Bye,
Karen,
Gabby.
was Anna one of your students back at AU?
1 sec, let me quit recording. There we go.